So you may be thinking, I'm just one of those people who isn't so beautiful. Maybe I used to be beautiful, but now I'm not. And my person would love me more if I went in and got my eyes done and my face lifted and, my neck put somewhere else and my boobs operated on as many times as Dolly Parton or Christy Teigen, right? Whatever. You're thinking that if I just had an intervention, then my person would love me more. I have seen that. I have seen the before and after that so many times. And the answer is the person who has the work done may feel more confident, and that makes them more attractive to their lover, but it doesn't change the relationship. Being beautiful is so hairy culturally. It's so complicated to get to feeling beautiful that I can't even say as a woman, I don't know. But he feels it, and he feels it, I think, because of our relationship and how we've learned to notice each other, care for each other, and live in a way that demonstrates that we really are committed to being together and being on the same side. When I was in my 20s and young, I had very firm ideas about relationships. I had already been divorced once, decided that I was never, ever going to be in a relationship again, and I met Pop-Pops. I thought, I don't know. He is so handsome. And I really thought that every single woman in New York was after him, and some of the married ones I happen to know. And it's like, he's not gonna want me because he's gonna want somebody who is really prettier than I am. He's gonna go for pretty, and I am not pretty, and so that it's not gonna work. So we got past the beginning. We got married. We launched into our relationship, and now it's more than 40 years later. I have learned so much. And today I'm going to share with you some real truths that I have learned at serious expense about what to do when you're fretting over whether or not your person, your honey, your lover, your everything with whom you've been for a while, and you start worrying, oh, I'm not exactly the person they hooked up with that night when we were going a little too far after a first date. And maybe they don't think I'm hot anymore, and maybe I'm not as attractive as I used to be, and all that stuff that can get in your mind and start floating around and making you a little crazy. There's something I want to be absolutely clear about. Feeling that your honey finds you undesirable is not the same as what it feels like when your relationship is really at risk. It's kind of like a cold compared to COVID. When things are really bad, you can tell. You know in your heart that there's something going wrong. You may not want to tell yourself, but you do. I liken it to when you have a pimple, those ones that are underneath and you can't see them, but you can feel it. You can feel there's something down there that is just not right. We'll talk about that in another video, but for this video, we're just talking about you feeling unattractive. So you may be thinking, I'm just one of those people who isn't so beautiful. Maybe I used to be beautiful, but now I'm not. And my person would love me more if I went in and got my eyes done and my face lifted and, my neck put somewhere else and my boobs operated on as many times as Dolly Parton or Christy Teigen, right? Whatever. You're thinking that if I just had an intervention, then my person would love me more. I have seen that. I have seen the before and after that so many times. And the answer is the person who has the work done may feel more confident, and that makes them more attractive to their lover, but it doesn't change the relationship, right? They feel more confident, so they're more able to give, but it's like a second-hand result of the surgery. It's not what they look like. So you don't believe me about being beautiful. I know you don't. And so I'm going to tell you something that you may find hard to believe, but for me, it's true. I've watched a lot of celebrities who are so beautiful as they wrestle with the price of being beautiful and the price of being valued for their looks and the price of being valued for what they look like at a certain point in time. And what I see is that being beautiful can be and often is a risk to relationships, because it means that your relationship is what you look like. You know, you're caught in the mirror. You're busy seeing what works and what doesn't work, and the more you look, the less you like it. It's sort of an iconic story. Marilyn Monroe was so beautiful. Even if you're 17, I bet you know who Marilyn Monroe is. And yet, she had the worst life in terms of relationships. She couldn't make one stick. And I wonder sometimes, is being so beautiful kind of a risk in a relationship? I don't know. I was looking at this week, Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos went to the White House for a state dinner. And hey, props to Lauren Sanchez. She's marrying a man who's got lots and lots of money, and I think, you know, maybe that's what she wanted. All I could see was somebody wearing to the White House, to a state dinner, something that she felt made her look beautiful, that he thought maybe made her look beautiful. And all it ended up doing was creating a lot of opportunity for trolls who were saying,
"Whoa, you look like trash."
I don't know, the whole beauty thing. I don't think it's a relationship maker. It's a relationship instigator. You can get started in a relationship because someone sees you and thinks you're beautiful, but that's not why they stay. I guess I can add one thing to that. When they stay a long time, they still see you the way you looked when you met. Pop-Ups doesn't actually see what I look like now. He looks at me and he thinks I'm the beautiful, to him, woman that he met. Hey, it works for us. So now I'm going to give you an example of people I'm sure that most of you don't know because they're older than me. They are older than dirt, but it's an interesting story. Jerry Hall, when she was young, gorgeous model, thick blonde hair. She was in a relationship with Mick Jagger. I bet you know the Rolling Stones from your boomer parents playing it, or your boomer grandparents. And she was with him for a long time, and he dumped her because he wanted, you know, some new, fresh versions. She ended up marrying a guy named Rupert Murdoch, billionaire, owns media companies around the world, makes Mick Jagger's money look like lunch money, right? So it looked like she had really scored. And it was clear that Rupert married her because she was in her 60s, but she was still so beautiful. So beautiful. And then, I think it was about 4 years later, one day she was in the car and she looked at her phone and it was an email, I couldn't make this up, from her then husband out of the blue that said,
"Oh, so sorry. Our marriage is over. My attorneys will be in contact with yours."
Cold, right? So looks, I'm not going to tell you looks aren't a magnet. They can be. They often are. Different people find different looks appealing, but looks don't guarantee stickiness. They don't guarantee that you're going to be with that person for a long time, because at the end of the day, what counts is how you make them feel. How do you make them feel? If you make them feel great, if being with you, I should say, makes them feel great, then they're going to stay. If for whatever reason being with you doesn't make them feel great, they're going to go. And if they're so shallow that being with you doesn't make them feel great because you don't look like some 19-year-old they've got their eye on, good riddance, right? I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. If they want to trade for a newer, younger model because they think that's going to solve their personal problems, get a great attorney. Get what you can, consider it tuition, and move on and find someone who sees the beauty that is in here and not just here. This tip is an action item. You probably keep your to-do list online. I want you to print it out. You need to have it on paper for this. So print it out. You can multitask, I know you can. And once you have it printed out, I want you to take it somewhere safe, like the sink, which is what I do. And then I want you to set it on fire. This week's action list, set it on fire. That sucker needs to go up in flames. Now, why am I telling you to do this when I'm talking to you about reigniting? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist the pun. Reigniting your relationship and feeling like you're still attractive? Because I think for a lot of us, the list gets so big that without even noticing it, we find ourselves in a relationship with the list. Our primary relationship is with the list and not with our honey, right? And so if that's true, if a big hunk of our brain is about list, gotta do this, gotta be up at 5, blah, 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 blah. We don't notice the little bitty tiny changes that indicate what they really value may be different than what they valued when we were first together. And the other thing we may not notice is that we've changed, right? We don't have space to think about how have we changed. It's been on my mind because I know a lot of folks are now going back to the office, even if it's hybrid. You are going somewhere else. You've got to commute. You're away. You have new people you're relating to. Maybe you're going out with your coworkers for lunch or drinks or whatever. It doesn't matter. In the process of that, you're going through a lot of changes. And I wasn't making fun of people who stutter. There's a song with that in it that I'll remember by the end of this video. So as you go through changes, how you present to your honey is different, and you may not know unless you get rid of the to-do list. So if you're like me and you burn the to-do list, you're going to go into shock for a little while. But after 48 hours, if you move your attention to them, you're going to start noticing little clues about what they care about now as opposed to what they cared about 6 months ago or a year ago or 10 years ago. The reason I'm telling you this is there are different things that pull at our attention all the time, that pull our attention away. And people can feel, animals can feel, everybody can feel if your focus, your attention isn't on them. And that leads to your person pulling back, right? There's a little,
oh, they're not really here, so I'm not really here.
If the list is taking you away from your love, they're feeling it. And what I'm asking you for, the list could be anything, but it's getting rid of what you do every day that takes your attention away from your person. If your attention isn't there, you don't know what you need to do to fix the issue of feeling less desirable. You just can't learn enough if you're not really focusing on them and not on something outside of them. I remember there was a time when my company, the company I worked for, was in crisis, and I was spending like all of my time nonstop working. And I felt very virtuous about it because I thought, I'm doing this for my family, that's really good. And I didn't really notice that my energy wasn't with them. What I did notice was that I was noticing other people. Pop-Pops has heard this, so it's okay. It was one night we were there really late. It was midnight and I was there with this guy. And I remember looking at him just so tired I could barely see. And I thought, it may be that guy has the most beautifully shaped upper lip I've ever seen. Weird, right? That's so weird. It was at the same time that our marriage hit sort of a not so connected place. That happens no matter what. But I hadn't realized that my attention being elsewhere was mirrored in Pop-Up's feeling unattended to. And it was Pop-Up's feeling unattended to that ended up making a big bump for us. So it's not that they, in my experience, it can happen. It's not that they decide out of nowhere, my person's not attractive, I'm not feeling it, whatever. It's happening within the relationship. You're part of this. And if you're not really there, then they're gonna drift away. They're not gonna be there either. I'm not blaming you, I'm not shaming you. I'm not saying you have to serve them. I'm not saying worship at your narcissist's knee. I'm just saying notice. Notice if your focus is where you want it to be in terms of what you want your life to be. Whatever you focus on grows. Our neighbor is a serious gardener, and she gardens in pots. And what I realize is that she notices every tiny thing that happens every day. How's the soil? What's happening to the leaves? Do they look moist? Did I overwater? Did some critter come in the night and eat something? She's constantly monitoring the growth of her plants because she loves them. It's the same thing for us, right? If you love someone or something, then the ideal is to just be tracking what's happening with them. And that means creating, prioritizing the space you have to understand where you are, where they are, what's up. And it's hard to do that when you get overwhelmed by the day-to-day. And I want to share another thought. Some of you may be thinking,
well, Granny, what if it's true? What if they do suddenly find me unattractive? What if I just am not good looking enough for them? Maybe they want somebody who's more beautiful.
I thought about that one a lot, and my answer is this. If looking pretty were all it took to make for a happy marriage, then we would be hearing nothing but happily ever after stories from married celebrities. We'd be hearing, oh God, they were so beautiful. They got married and then they were together for 50 years. And come on, how often do you hear that? You hear they were together for 3 months and it blew up, or they were together for 6 years and it blew up, or whatever it is. It is not some superficial thing. It is the connection underneath. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. I know you're beautiful. And finding a place to rest in your confidence about that gives you the ability to say, okay, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, things may be changing around me, but it's early days and I can adapt. Love you. When I was young, I thought probably what you're thinking, which is, oh, I got nothing in common with a woman who's in her 70s, and I wanted to show you this to demonstrate to you that we have more in common than you think. Do you know what this is? Can you see this? This is a blackhead extractor. I'm still worried about my T-zone. I'm still worried about how I look. And I'm saying that because part of me is 73 and part of me is still every age I've already lived. I'm still 3, I'm still 9, I'm still 17, I'm still 29. I'm still all the ages that I've been that live inside me. And I can remember through those stages, part it is when you're encountering things for the first time. It's the first time you haven't been dewy and gorgeous like a rose, or maybe you've never been comfortable with how you look, or maybe you feel like your looks mean that no one's ever going to want you, let alone stay with you. That is just not true. That is just not true. I've watched beautiful people of every gender go out with folks who are not conventionally beautiful. And what I now understand is that they're not looking at the skin. They're not looking at, little tiny blackheads you can only see in a magnifying mirror. They're not looking at cellulite. I mean, they may not even know what cellulite is. What they're looking at is you. They're looking at you, and they see your heart, your beauty, your gifts, your everything. And that is why I know you got this.